Okay, let's turn off that lovely, lovely music. What's up, guys? Truman here. Welcome back to another video. Do you want to hear two funny facts about me? One is that whenever so many times when people find out that I listen to classical music, they're kind of surprised. I'm like, what the hell? You're listening to classical music? And it's like, yeah. I'm like, well, that's I didn't expect that. I'm like, well, what did you expect? What did you expect? And this isn't a racism thing. No. This is just stereotypes. And everyone has stereotypes. And I was like, what do you expect me to listen to? Rap? There's like 5 rap songs that I like. And the most recent one is Gas Money, which I listened to because I found it as part of like some funny animated YouTube channel. They called something about Monster Hunter. And it was good. I actually liked it. I do kind of like some rap. Second fact is that for some reason, when I go home and I've got nothing else to do and I put on a video game, the drunker I get, the more complex video games I play, to the point where it's like I'm playing chess. And I'm better at it than when I'm sober. And to this day, I cannot figure out why that is. Now, I can speculate, like for example, it could be limiting some inhibitions and it could stop me from overthinking every single little move. But it's really annoying. Do you know what I mean? It's like when you want to win when you're sober, because now it's like, imagine just entering some sort of a tournament, which I never do because I don't have the time, and just turning up like swaying and just like everyone's looking at you like, this guy is never gonna win, and he just wrecks face. And it's just like, and then hey, I won, and just throws up all over the computer. Champion. So today, I promise that's going to be only a few tangents because this is the 4th outtake of me rambling on and forgetting what the hell I'm talking about. I find that actually wearing sunglasses makes it easier for me to focus. But I'm going through a red light. Today, I'm going to try and not get arrested by the police and talk about something that's kind of difficult for me to talk about because it's something that, do you know, when you're unsure of like a concept or an idea, and it's kind of better to sort of flesh it out by like thinking about it and like talking about it out loud. And that is, if some of you don't already know, I have been single for about 8 years and haven't had sex in about 6. And I'm coming to up to a point now where I'm just sort of evaluating that now that I'm getting older. I never intended it for it to be permanent. It was sort of a kind of, well, let me just tell you the story. Years ago, when I was 18, I had one of my first long-term relationships with a lady who was rather crazy, but that was fine because I was crazy as well. And I ended up blowing up the relationship by just being jealous and petty and all this other nonsense. And something amazing happened to me. I had it was one of those moments where you look back at your life and you realize that thought and that realization really set you off on like a different path, and I'm really glad for it. Oh, she also turned me on to Zeitgeist, which kind of blew the lid open on all sorts of like crazy stuff about the world and the government to me. And I'm not saying that I agreed with everything about it, but it started off everything to the point where now I just do not trust authority. And thank goodness, because it actually literally saved my life. But anyway, so after I blew up that relationship, I sort of thought to myself, I'm a monster, and I can easily get back on the carousel again, or I could find out why I am a monster. And that was one of the first times that I really found out one of the aspects of my personality. That is that once I realized that I could not let it go. I could not let it go. It's like I realized that what I did was horrible, and I do not want to do that to anyone again. Now, for those that know me, I've had a pretty turbulent upbringing, and that left me in a kind of a state where I was not exactly the most mentally and or physically stable. And so that really sparked off the journey of personal development. So I basically said to myself, I'm not getting into a relationship until I figure out why I'm like this. And while I kept and you know, they say that, you shouldn't always overly diagnose because you can get down a rabbit hole finding everything wrong. I'm glad I did, because everything was wrong. Like, I am glad that I did, because literally everything was wrong. It was like my mind is screwed, my body is screwed. And to this day, I'm so grateful to her. I really wish that I could see her again just so that I could thank her. Not to get back with her, because it's one of those things where you look back and you're like, oh my God, what was I doing? Like, I'm 3 times hotter than you. And like, it's weird because my friends are trying to, as lads do, they'll just look at her and then look at you and just be like, You know what I mean? In my head, I didn't even register, but you know, I was kind of infatuated, and it was one of your first relationships, so naturally you sort of see stars and you don't know what you're doing. But after a while, I embarked on a path that led me down, finding out not only that everything I knew about women was wrong, that everything I knew about life was wrong, everything I knew about my family was wrong, everything I knew about everything was wrong. And it got to a point where year passed after year, and I kept on focusing on personal development. I kept on shrugging off advances. I did sleep around a bit, but after a while, after about 2 years after my breakup, I was like, I am going to take this seriously. No sex, no relationships, you know, no nothing. And I will admit that I did get a bit too OCD about that. I did go way too far, I believe, whereby for a good 2 years of my life, I was just over-diagnosing. But luckily, you know, after a while, I did have to sober up and realize that you can't live your life like that. But the same thing stuck with me. And that I need to find out why it is that when I try and get into some relationships, there is this hole that opens up in me, and I'm desperate for her to fill it. Now, as the years went on, I finally figured out how to fill that hole, and that's where I basically discovered this movement called Men Going Their Own Way. And despite what you think of it, I have very strong feelings about it, some good, some bad. But the essence is that a man finds his own place when he's on his own. And once he's found his own place, for however long that is, then it's going to be better to go out into the world and go out and, you know, do stuff and meet people, have a family, this and the other. Or don't! Like, that's the thing. It's like you either do that or you don't. And I realized that I was basically doing that years and years before I actually discovered it, to try and find out what's going on. And I'm glad that I did, because I tell you, my personal discovery, it's like seeing El Dorado, City of Gold, I think it was, in like the distance, in like through like a magnifying glass, in the sense that all the discoveries that I found out about health, well-being, all of this other stuff, I now have the opportunity to work myself into a quality of life whereby, like, I'm basically, okay, TLDR, I have tons of energy, and most crucially, I can be on my own. And I discovered that the only times that I wanted female company was when and don't take this personally, that this is a personal thing for me, when I was sick or when I was not following my purpose. That's to say, when I wasn't doing things that I was happy waking up and doing. Not all the time, but at least there was something that I was building. If there was something that I was building, like, I couldn't care less. Like, I was so engrossed in what I was doing. Now, I can understand why, because, you know, why I would feel it that way, because, you know, you want company when you're ill, when things are going well. We're social creatures, so we want to reach out to other people, and we want to have that empathy. Now, when I would weather that by myself, and then I come out the other end like, okay, everyone piss off. You know, it's like, all right, I'm just going to do this by myself. And I tell you, it wasn't easy. I think like most of my extended family thinks I'm gay. I am super serious. Like, whenever I talk to some of my aunties, like, we have a line of suitors waiting for you anytime now, you know, just let us know. In the back of their head, like, please don't be gay, please don't be gay, please don't be gay. And I mean, they're not homophobic, but I guess maybe they are. You know, some of your friends as well. I think there are some friends that I've known for like years that have never seen me with a woman. And the times that they have, it's like random times at like a dance floor. And when I do, it's like usually at like after parties. So it's like there's like few people there. So some of my friends probably think that I'm gay as well. But I don't care. And I realized that deep down, I get kind of angry. And I don't know, is it anger? Whenever I feel or see, whenever I hear that meme, especially from television or like Disney movies, or frickin' when I used to watch anime a lot, it was like all the time in anime. It's like, oh, this one dude, he just needs a friend and he wanted to do things by himself, and now he's the hench evil guy, and he's now defeated by the fucking main guy shouting friendship is magic and then punching him in the face with this magical MacGuffin. And then the moral of the story is you need, you know, people. Now, I'm not anti-people. Nor am I anti-relationships. Let's just make that clear. I am anti being dependent on relationships. And what I found from a lot of the messages that were thrown around on TV and I got from family was that life is just so much better when you have someone else there. Now, I always found that weird from a very, very early age. This is before I even got into relationships. I always found it weird. Why can't I just be complete for myself and by myself? And it was only until I went down the path of MGTOW that I find that it's actually better to feel good for your in and of yourself independently, especially for a man. I'm speaking for men here. Maybe women are different. Who knows? But it's much better to do that first before you start jumping into relationships. So as I was saying, I always found it weird that why can't I be complete for myself and by myself? And especially as a man, I believe that it's more important. It's so much important, especially today, to be whole and healthy for yourself and by yourself before you get into any of that. Because I found in my life, you attract what you are. I've discovered for myself that you literally, like a magnet, attract what you are. And whenever I would try and get back into the dating market from a place of negativity, from a place of I feel sick physically or mentally, I want to feel this whole, I would inevitably attract crazy women. And now the flip side to that is that I've had very decent, and this is the hard part, I've had many women who've just got away. You know, we all have the women who got away. My one was, oh God, I was working for my parents when I was like 19, and I had to drop some mail off at the post office. Stunning, like 9 out of 10. She must have been like Arabic, and I mean like 9 out of 10. And I just froze. I just froze, and she had that smoker's voice as well, and she was all over me. She was just like she could barely breathe when she was next to me. But the thing is, neither could I. And being the insecure soul that I was, I let it get away. But anyway, there's a lot of delusion that goes around, especially in the MGTOW sphere, whereby it's a lot of dudes who swear off women, but if you put a woman in a room with them, they'd basically do what I did back then. They just freeze up and they go blah, 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 blah. And I'm saying that like it or not, like you have to interact with them. You know, you it's something, they're going to be there for the rest of your life, and you might want to work on that. Doesn't mean you have to use game and all this other stuff and become a pickup artist. But maybe work on that. And that was something else that I worked on, because I used to have a massive fear of women up until I was about 23, 24. And now it's got to the point where like most people are at, where it's like you're just a human being. But I made a conscious choice. I made a conscious decision to say, I'm sorry, no, I'm trying to figure this out. And I watched every single time I tried and got back into the dating market, my life would inevitably get worse because of the kind of women that I would attract. Not only that, but they would take up space in my head that I was being reserved for more important things. So I found like, hey, like why, you know, it's annoying. You know, it's annoying, and especially this day and age with a lot of modern women. I don't know if this was the case all the time, because I didn't notice this, maybe because I didn't know many of the red pill stuff, but most women don't really give much to the table except for sex. And when you're on your purpose, when you're really trying to crank something out, they're kind of like wasps in your room sometimes. And I'm not saying women are wasps in your room, but it's like, in my experience, that has been the case. So I found that whenever I focused on myself, my life would inevitably get better. And since I was never someone who was really much into casual sex at all, in fact, I kind of prefer a kind of connection first, unless I'm drunk. You know, in which case the only connection I give a crap about is actually physical. But I found that my life would almost always get better when I focused on myself. And I'm coming to the point now where I have to think to myself, do I draw a line under all this? Do I say, okay, I'm pretty sure that I'm at the point where I need to be. Maybe once I've earned enough money independently to be able to quit my main job, then I'll think about it. But right now, I have no interest in not being single anymore. And believe me, I've thought about it. Sometimes, especially summer, man. Summertime. Oh God, there's a reason why I have these sunglasses. Even though you can still see my eyes through them. Something I have to find out for myself. It's summer. There's hot chicks everywhere. Some of them come up to me, and sometimes I feel like I want to come up to them, but it's so few and far between now. And I find that the longer you become single, the easier it is to fill that hole. And the closer I'm coming to a point whereby I can safely say with full confidence, and my body will also agree with me, because the body will tell you if you're right and wrong, usually through twitches and motions and stuff like that, that I'm 100% comfortable being alone. And that's all I really wanted to do. That's why I've been single for such a long period of time. I wanted to know, can I be comfortable and emotionally stable by myself? And I found out the answer is yes. Like I said, the only time I'm actually craving relationships is when I'm either sick physically or psychologically, or if I'm just not on my purpose. I can be totally healthy, but if I'm doing nothing with my day, that's when I start craving it. When I'm doing something, I am. And, you know. But anyway, that's what I wanted to say.